My son took his life March of 2006 by suicide. And it just totally destroyed me. For the first 6 months after his death, I wanted to be with him so bad. I didn't care whether I lived or died. Part of me wanted to be with him, part of me wanted to be with my family. And it was just a real struggle, but it was a toss-up, a 50-50. I don't care because I missed him so much.
I'm the queen of fine, because I'm always, how are you? I'm fine, I'm fine. I say that to everybody, I'm fine. I'm heartbroken. I'm missing a child that I'm never going to see. And some days it's overwhelming.
JR's Hunt for Life is a nonprofit that I started after our son took his life about 6 years ago. I did not know how to survive it myself. I did not know if I wanted to survive it. It was very, very soulfully painful. And truly, I did not know if I wanted to live either. So I started this to try and get help for myself so I could see other people, how they're surviving, what they're doing, what I'm feeling. Is this normal? Is this not normal? How am I going to live the rest of my life without my child?
This is the longest period in my life that I've ever gone not having suicidal thoughts. I just was in this place where I literally felt like I'm 28. I've tried so many versions of medication. I've tried all the therapy. I've tried to go to treatment. I've tried to just think positive thoughts. I've tried to reach out to every human I have I've tried everything, I feel like, and I'm still in the same exhausted, not wanting to live place. And for the first time, I don't even want to try to do anything different. I'm just done.
Somewhere past the forest trees, far beyond a shallow breeze, somewhere. Up and through the iron gate, I know where for me she waits, somewhere. Too far when you're trying to go somewhere.
In the summer of 2006, I moved from Casper, Wyoming because my mother died from cancer. One day, I got a call from my best friend that our 15-year-old friend had killed himself. I couldn't imagine what his parents felt if I felt this terrible about my mom dying. When I turned 21, I was so confused about why the teen suicide rate in Wyoming was rising, I decided to make a short documentary investigating the reasons. I first met Kyla when she was 19, and she courageously shared what led her to become suicidal as a teenager.
I didn't even know feeling suicidal was abnormal until, I start going to a neurologist and he asks me, do you feel suicidal? Do you think about suicide? I'm like, yeah, doesn't everyone? Everyone's always talking about how proud they are to be from Wyoming because we're such a small place that we're just everyone's neighbors and we help everyone. But that's not the truth from my experiences. When I was suicidal even, I never had anyone reaching out trying to help me.
I know I've not been the same, but hear me out, 'cause I got nowhere else to go, and I need you more than ever now.
No one wants to go there. That myth about if you talk about suicide, more people are going to take their life, that's a myth, but it's so strongly ingrained and rooted. As a teenager, being depressed and suicidal was much different than a 23-year-old brand new mom experiencing postpartum depression and suicidality, and was much different than a 28-year-old experiencing a whole different version of depression and suicide. In 2020, I didn't want it. I didn't even want to try one more time to get better. I did not want to reach out. I did not want anyone to know that I was struggling. I kept it completely secret. It was really dark. There was no part of me that believed I am taking something good away from my kid. I really thought I was removing a problem for her. I think there are cases that are spontaneous and not well thought out, but I think a lot of people do think a lot about what's going on, how it will affect all the people left behind. And most of the time that I've been in that situation to make that decision, I truly believe with every iota, the people left behind are going to be better off.
They'd be better off without me. Huge phrase for suicide. These people at that point in their life, I believe, truly believe that if they were gone, their family and their friends would be better off. You can't tell somebody just not to be suicidal. It doesn't work. Oftentimes we may have a situation where it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up again, and then all of a sudden here it is again. And you get to the point of, oh, well, that's just old Joe. That's the way he is. That's his life. Well, he keeps bringing it up because it hasn't been addressed.
Lance is a volunteer with the Natrona County Suicide Prevention Taskforce. The task force consists of volunteers from different parts of the community to try to reach as many people in Casper as possible.
Apparently last week they had a number of suicide attempts. The emergency room had a real problem, just kind of crazy with it. So they asked if we could provide some help, training, support, whatever for the ER nurses and the hospital again. And I said, yeah, we're here, we're ready. I've never been angry with my son, but I was angry with myself because I kept wondering, why didn't I see it? Why didn't I do something about it? And after 6 months, I decided I've got to live. I can't stand being in this turmoil. And so I decided that I believe there's someday that I'm going to see my son. But until then, I'm going to live my life here with my family and enjoy life and help other people. I'd love to say that I don't want to see another suicide ever again. I know that that's not possible, but I'm going to do everything I can to help prevent suicide.
Wave at those flags.
We were at the Pride event last week. John and I were there, and I thought that was good. We reached maybe not a large volume of people, but I think the people we talked to, the people I talked to, were reaching out, looking for some help. A small percentage of people are going to get help, be it a counselor, being in a support group, being whatever. A lot of people are dealing with it themselves. I had one lady came in and she said, I lost my son 19 years ago to suicide and I've never dealt with it. You know, wow. You've been beating yourself up. You've been dragging this baggage along with you for 19 years. Let's find somebody who can help. But there's so few people that are willing to get help. And then there's even a smaller amount than that that are willing to stand up and say, I want to do something about it.
I met 3 mothers who were brave enough to share their story about losing their child to suicide.
His name is J.R. Hunter. He was 36 at the time. He was an entrepreneur in town, owned businesses, outdoor photography, wildlife, all of that kind of stuff. Let me say suicide is very insidious. It doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have, or who you are not. It can happen to anyone. We want to get it out there and tell people that you can survive this, and anyone here can be touched. We're all human. I was stuck right here in my loss. I was stuck right here. It was right here. And when I suddenly realized that this happens all over the world, this is not just in Casper, Wyoming, I thought we need to reach out everywhere, and that's what we're doing. People don't want to hear about statistics. They want to know why it's happening, how can we stop it, what can I do for my child, what can I do for my friend, what can I, they don't care if I were to come to them and say, well, Wyoming's always in the top 3 of the nation in suicide losses. You know that the greatest loss is men 35 to 45 white males. No, they do not care about that. So I would rather get to the meat of the matter and say, let's talk, because the more we talk to people, talk saves lives.
If you picked up this book, it is most likely that you have also lost a child or someone you love by suicide. First, let me tell you, my heart breaks for you. I am writing this because of you. I know how great your grief is. I have not taken the same grief journey as you, but we have traveled a similar path.
He was an athlete, and he was popular, and he was handsome, and he was well-liked. And in fact, I brought a picture of him, and every time I talk anymore about suicide, I always tell people that this is what suicide looks like. Every time I've talked to a parent after they've lost their child, they have said, I just don't understand why. I wish I knew why. But you know what? I don't think that when somebody is in that place, because when you're at that place, when you take your life, you are at the rock bottom. You are thinking there's no hope at all. And so I don't even think their why would be right, because you are just in the throes of desperation.
This might sound really morbid, but I had one girl that kept threatening suicide, that a friend of mine, her daughter. And she wanted me to talk to her, so I did. I showed her my daughter's picture, her happy picture, and then I showed her a picture of my daughter laying in her coffin. This is how everybody would remember my daughter, because this is just how she was just funny. She had been struggling with mental health issues, especially anxiety, since she was about 13. Anxiety, depression, manic depressive, bipolar, one medication to another. And it seems like when she hit about 18, she just spiraled downhill. She started using drugs as a way of coping. She went to prison. And then she was getting her life back together. She was doing really good. She met and married a guy real quick. And he was very abusive, very controlling.
Physically and emotionally?
Both. From March until August when she passed, it was just a daily battle trying to make sure she was all right. And she was really good she seemed so much better. So I thought we'd gotten past it. Mental illness is a disease. It's just like cancer or diabetes, but it's not spoken about. It's taboo, The people do not talk about it. I'm not ashamed to say how my daughter died. I'd be ashamed of myself if I wasn't doing something to try to help.
It's not just about suicide. It's not just about anxiety, depression, mental health issues. It's literally about the grander way that we deal with all of these issues affecting these people in this population. And it's not just teens, but even adults. If they find out that I'm having sex, or if they find out that I'm gay, or if they, like, there's so many elements that if an adult goes to some type of substance use, that fear of being put in prison, jail, or whatever, facing legal issue, prevents them from getting help. Like, it becomes this huge stigmatized mess. And so it's not an easy thing to decouple any of this and just like, well, this is the root. No, it's all related.
Well, I'm Jim Whips, and I am the current Natrona County coroner. Have been with this office for about 22 years, but have been the coroner for going on 3. We call it the suicide belt. Very similar, like the tornado alley and the tornado belt and those kind of things. You have a swath that starts at the top and runs its way right down with defined boundaries from Montana down through New Mexico, where one of us, if not all of us, are always in the top 5. Always. I've got to tell you, there's been more research done on what's going on around here, from altitude to wind to the cowboy up attitude that's been prevalent in this state since its inception, and nothing has panned out. There's got to be something different in the way that we think and formulate conclusions than a lot of the rest of the world, and I just don't know what that is. When I actually got back from Iraq, I myself had suicidal ideations. That's probably one of the more frustrating things, because you can't generalize it. Each case that I go out on is unique.
My name is Matt Carr, and I'm the sheriff of Teton County. We do have a very disparate community. Like, we've got some very wealthy folks, and then some people that it's common for them to work 2 or 3 jobs just to be able to sustain living here. We see the mental health crisis going completely across that spectrum. We get a lot of welfare checks, we get a lot of welfare calls. Unfortunately, we have a lot of suicidal subjects, people that will come here to Teton County for whatever reason and commit that last final act. We do have active situations where we'll have a barricaded subject or somebody that's talking suicidal ideations or attempting suicide in an active sort of way, that we respond to those calls. And then we've had others where, again, you have somebody that commits suicide in a car or in a public place, and they're found by other folks. A mental health crisis can be one of the most challenging and dangerous things that they respond to. When you arrive on the scene, oftentimes you've been given a little information, but you get there and you've really got to figure out what you're dealing with. Has this individual actually broken a law and that's why we're responding? Or are they just acting out in such a manner that we're getting calls from concerned citizens? So it really could be any number of things.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, because you talk to these police officers and they're quite frankly sick of it. It's something that wears them down as well when they're having to deal with this as often as they are. Within a year's time here, we had 5 either first responders or former first responders commit suicide here. And that's an incredible number. We have a group of people out here that are basically taking on and experiencing the community, everybody else's problems, and it's affecting them.
Mental health care has always been an issue here. It's just always hard counselors come and go so quickly. They're hard to get into. Really good, consistent ones are hard to find. I've had several kids that were suicidal that I took up to the hospital myself. And one we sat in the emergency room for 13 hours waiting to be seen by a mental health person. The process is hard. It's just, there's never been an easy answer about how to get kids help. And when they are actively suicidal, it's pretty scary at that point in time. It's like everyone panics and doesn't really know what to do with them.
You know, I'm very concerned at the state level with the capabilities of the state hospital and their limitations. When someone's mental health crisis gets to the point where they need that inpatient care, we're just not equipped to handle that. We don't have an inpatient psych facility here. I'm sure you'll hear this from other sheriffs as well. Oftentimes those folks wait in our jails where we don't want them. They don't belong there, but they're waiting for that help that they need, and the space is just not available.
In Lander, Wyoming, I attended the second annual pig roast, a free event the mayor started when he realized the need for the community to be directly connected with mental health resources.
Mental health is probably one of the most important things right now in the country. This is what this town is doing to help this community grow and get better and to heal. Maybe helps other communities start something to this. We'll have the high school counselors there working with high school kids. We'll have public health there. They'll be working. We'll have the veterans tent there. We'll have all these booths set up. If you feel something's wrong in your family, talk to them and they'll give you the warning signs. And what do we do? How do we help people? How do we approach them?
Many people I met around the state were honest that it can be uncomfortable and sometimes awkward to ask for help for yourself or help others when a suicidal crisis occurs. The volunteers at the pig roast assured me this is normal, and there are many ways to practice having these challenging conversations.
And so you want to talk to the person and say, I've noticed, usually you come in and you seem pretty, you're dressed up, and I noticed that lately you just seem really down, and I know that maybe this happened in your life recently, and sometimes, when people experience whatever that might be, they might be thinking of suicide, and I'm just wanting to check on you because I care, but are you thinking of suicide? And so asking directly, you'll get a clear yes or no, kind of as neutral as possible. Make sure you don't overreact no matter what they say to you, but don't be afraid to ask directly. But when people are in crisis, sometimes they think that I'm not hurting myself, I'm helping myself because I'm in such a state of crisis that this is actually, it's that thwarted, thinking, that problematic thinking when people have thoughts of suicide.
Around here, economically, at least in Fremont County, we struggle. We don't have the greatest economy. And some things that you see with young people is a key word that we always hook on to is a burden.
I'm going to hang out with you. I'm going to lock your guns up. I'm going to take your knives. I'm going to put away your pill bottles. And we're going to watch for a while, and as we get through this. And again, it's being with that person through that dark space.
This is a vulnerability. Somebody that's fascinated about with dying from suicide is going to look for this, so they're going to watch for where you keep it. So this can be passed. It could be passed through the magazine well and through the action and locked to secure that so the action on an autoloader can't be closed, okay?
Now we have the number 988. As soon as you dial that phone number, you're going to be talking to somebody in your state, and they're going to, whether you're just having a bad day or not, they're going to be visiting with you about your mental health.
There really is a mentality of, I'm going to take care of my own self, and if I can't do that, then there's maybe something wrong with me. And having something wrong with me like that is not always, palatable, or it's hard to say that out loud. Keep the word out in front of people. I think awareness comes and goes. After a shooting, people's awareness is there. After a death, people's awareness is there. After a newspaper headline, people's awareness is there. After an event like this, you have people's awareness is more increased. It rides a roller coaster. And so our job is to continue to say it in different ways at different times and just keep spreading the word. Because one time never cuts it.
Everybody is unique, and we need to accept them for who they are and the situations that they are experiencing, which means, again, zip my mouth. Let them tell me what's bothering them.
People aren't born with the instinct to want to die. Matter of fact, it's exactly opposite. The community needs to know that this is a problem and not have it off in the periphery as, oh well, this is just Wyoming, this is just Natrona County. And then the second thing is that we have to target intervention. Intervene, in the early stages. They even may have suicidal ideations the rest of their life, but have found those coping techniques through help in order to get over that hump.
You guys excited?
Yes, so excited.
I'll have you fill out paperwork first, and then we're gonna get...
I had a job a few years ago that just recognizing I was worth more than I was being treated in that moment, and actually quitting that job that day on the spot, no notice, which was so out of my personality. And I've never felt more relief than driving away from that building. And I literally just never felt happier and lighter, realizing in that moment that it was going to be okay and I had the power to make my life better. That is one of my deepest desires in life, is to feel like I have this community of people who celebrate me for who I am. I never had confidence in people saying when they liked something about me, because I felt like everything about me was such a facade for other people.
Just keeping it a couple...
It still was a slow shift after that, but that was definitely a very monumental moment, I feel, for me, realizing you don't have to do life the way you've been doing it. You deserve better.
Oh, you look at me so peacefully with the gaze of a sage in a cave in Himalayan snow. All the world's a fuzz, a busy buzz, doesn't faze you none. You trust it all to come and go. We head towards the sun. We head towards the sun. Oh, we head towards the sun. I hope you know that I won't let you go. There's a promise here and it's very clear that what's new and near may someday fade like starry sky. Through the fallen tears and the sprawling years, don't need no remedy to see through peaceful life. I've got your back. I've got your back.